Spark a conversation, verbal elation, stimulation, education. This is Menage with the MariJayneMaven. When we on the air, it's always a lituation. Might talk about some litigation, might talk about some immigration, might talk about some politics, but never talking nonsense. Yes, we on in the slide. Watch and listen, it's a vibe. Watch it while you getting high, or you can listen while you drive. Just don't forget to subscribe.
Roll up. Trying to get high.
Welcome to Menage with the MariJayneMaven podcast with your host, the MariJayneMaven. I am the producer, the hubby. Follow us on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Show us some love and click that subscribe button now. Don't forget to click the bell so you get notifications and click the like button on the videos.
And now, your host.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You know who it is. Your girl, the MariJayneMaven, a.k.a. don't call me just a weed smoker, but you can call me your highness. I want to welcome everybody back to another fantastic episode. Before I get started, I do want to remind you to please like, subscribe, share, comment. I like to hear what you have to say. And if it's just nasty, I just won't refer to it. No, I probably will. I'm an Aries. We know. I got it. I gotta say something back. But yeah, no, you guys like, subscribe, share, comment, leave suggestion, holler at your girl. We have another great guest host for you today. I do want to wish everybody a beautiful first week of July. I hope that you guys have finally started to receive the summer that we all so deserve. Last time that I was on, I talked about how we are experiencing the worst summer in this history, I would think, in my opinion, of where I live in Northern Cali. But we have not had our traditional just hot 10, 15 days of 100+ degree weather. We had 4, and then it went back down. I think it's maybe 80 today, and then it's going to creep back up next weekend. So I'm a hot weather girl. It's not summer if it's not hot. If I'm not going, woof, walking outside and it feels like I'm just walked into, a steam room, not summer. So we need to get there. I hope that everybody has stayed safe, that they were safe. This was a crazy 4th of July weekend. There was a lot of violence. And that's ridiculous because we can't just get together, have a block party, um, you know, have a barbecue, have some hot links, play some spades, talk some shit over some bones. For those of you that don't know what that is, dominoes. If you don't know what bones is, you probably don't even know how to play dominoes. But letting the kids run through the sprinklers, um, you know, the old folks telling the kids to go do a dance for everybody's entertainment. That's what the holidays are like, doing the wobble, listening to some Frankie Beverly and Maze. Like that's, these are the things that our 4th should be surrounded around or should include, not the violence that hit a lot of our country this past 5-day holiday weekend. But I'm hoping that everybody's safe and staying in the right frame of mind. We live in a crazy ass world. But before I continue to babble on like I do want to bring in a fellow podcaster, a fellow content creator, someone who allowed me the blessing and the opportunity to be on his platform. I know you guys already know because I know you follow both of us. I know our fans are like, wait a minute, they're collabing together. Let me get on that one. But we're gonna go ahead and bring in our guest co-host today, who is the host of the Liquor Talk podcast. And we're gonna go with V. Was that good, V? Or would you
That's
like to?
good.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. Perfect. Sometimes we got to keep our government names. We got to keep a little mystery around that.
Mhm.
Welcome to the podcast. How are you today? Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
First of all, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. You know what I'm saying? This is podcasting 101, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if I make an appearance in your podcast, you got to come on mine.
Yes.
That's how we do it right here. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yes.
how podcasting 101. But I'm doing wonderful. My name is Victor. I'm the host of that Liquor Talk podcast where we will have the realest conversations while pouring up some liquor. So, you know what? So, remember, more you drink, by sound, go ahead, tap in with me.
Thank
And
you.
also, I do agree with you. I feel bad for you because I live in Florida and it's hot here all the time. You know what I'm saying? So
The
I feel
thunderstorms
bad.
and shit
I
that you
feel
guys
bad.
have though, like some of the thunderstorms, you have the best like free nature given light shows that there are.
Yes, they do.
Um,
But the only thing
yeah,
is, it comes so unexpectedly. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You could be at
yeah.
work and then all of a sudden the power go out. I'm like, okay, well, that's just, I'm working for free now.
That's how it is. Right. I know that I saw the weather reports that there was some severe thunderstorms that were going on that side of the country, and that they were saying that people were making plans because between the heat and the thunderstorms, you really couldn't be like, okay, this is exactly what I'm doing. How was it on the 4th of July holiday? I was
Well,
gonna call it someone different, but
Well, the 4th of July holiday, I was working, so it's
okay.
like I didn't get to experience that lit holiday you just described. I'm like, that sounds like my childhood right there. But I don't know, us as
Right.
millennials, we don't do a lot of that stuff, you know?
We don't. We don't. I mean, it's more of a we do more day parties. We do
Yeah,
more
basically.
excursions or experiences. We did go to during the weekend. I mean, you don't just count the day as you going to events. You count the weekend. So over the weekend, we had basketball, which let me start off by saying, guys, as we mentioned, this is podcasting 101. Okay. Also, part of podcasting 101 is when one host has to reschedule on the other host a few times. Being extra gracious as V has been, because it's been crazy June. We've had to reschedule a couple times, mostly due because my son plays basketball, and I should have known that the whole first month of June I shouldn't have planned anything because there were what
You can always plan for the second month of June. You said plan for the whole first month of June. Like there's 2
see, you
Junes.
see, I told you he's gonna tap in, and he's gonna tap in with the corrections. Nobody was paying attention to that. So the whole first month of summer, which is June, I should not have planned anything because it was basketball. However, um, V was so gracious and being flexible with my need and to have to reschedule. So I did have to interrupt to say that, but just also get that out there. That's part of the reason why millennials and I may or may not be on the cusp of being a millennial. I may be that generation before, but we don't put a lot of community and trust into what we do, whether it's podcasting, whether it's putting together a barbecue. Like there's not a lot of that community and trust involved. There's not a lot of that wanting to get together and just keep it simple, um, which is crazy. Because, like you said, I wonder how many barbecues were indicative of the experience that I just described. I'm sure there was some
Probably,
there was some wobbles done this
yeah.
weekend. I'm sure
Yeah,
there was probably
there's
more
probably
TikTok
some, you know what I'm
dances,
saying?
but yeah,
I really
so
feel like it was not that many. I feel like everybody would just, they have the kickback parties, everybody just out
mhm.
there chilling and drinking and stuff. So, and some places kids weren't even involved. So
Yeah, they're not invited at all. I know we went to an event on Saturday. I was saying it was my husband's fraternity brothers. They had just a come over, swim, let the kids go out and have fun. We had some drinks, we took some pictures, and it was nice because I think one thing that we fail to recognize is that as we get older, those relationships, or, you know, you didn't have to go to college or even in your early 20s. It was all about that community you were building, your friends, and they were becoming your family. So y'all did everything together. Friends Thanksgivings, friends Christmases.
mhm.
It was going to bachelorette parties, taking weekends, going to, an Essence Fest or, whatever it may be, going to Vegas. That was all kind of planned. And as everybody starts getting their families and getting into their careers, those times become few and far between. So those times those experiences of having those barbecues, having that Frankie Beverly and Maze played, having the kids do the dances, it wasn't the wobble then, but the electric slide or whatever it was, the atomic dog, whatever it was back then, those were appreciated because it was important to have. You still needed to have that fellowship of sorts. And we don't. And I give so much credence and positive credit to social media. And because that does keep people together. I think that's what has replaced those needs to get together is because we have people like, oh, I know what they're doing. Let me just pull up. They're here on their pull up their Insta or their Facebook. And so that's what I think has um, substituted itself for that face to face once a year, twice a year get together that we've experienced growing up. Um, on that tip, what was your favorite thing about that growing up? Like your favorite that getting together. What was that one thing? If I granted you a wish, and you could pull anything from your childhood or from those experiences into today, what would that one thing be?
I would have to say, getting together. So I would have to give it to my college friends because don't get me wrong, I love for the family, but nothing like going to college and have your college friends come over and stuff. Because I actually hosted some college friends on the 4th of July. I barbecued, everything turned out great. People were bringing stuff, people were bringing drinks, man. We had a very good time and it was lit.
Yeah, and creating more memories. I love that you said that because I was talking to my friends this weekend and I said, I really like to do a lot of self-reflection, why I am the way that I am, which every adult should do. You should really understand who you are, why you click the way that you click, come to terms with maybe something that you find to be toxic or traumatic, and then move on from it. But I like to kind of do a lot of self-reflection and I often wonder, is it a bad thing that I look back upon those times that call those college times and the friends or the family that I made during that time with such fondness. You know, when we get together, we don't want the time to end. Or, when a couple of us get together, it's just a big ass trip down memory lane. So I wonder, like, is that a bad thing? Because are you living too much in the past when you should be living in the present? So often I'll kind of wonder that. And our friends and I, we kind of came to a consensus that there's nothing wrong with that. That's what life is about, is appreciating those moments and then being able to bring them to fruition in your everyday life now. So while we were kicking it just alone, we didn't have no kids or anything to worry about. And many of us made jokes this past Saturday, like, when did we decide in our marriage that we want to have kids? Why was that something we decided upon? We all love our children and we love to see the growth in them, but it was just funny and I think validating that other people feel the same way that you feel, and not that you're commiserating, but that we're all going through this process of being parents and being adults together. Um, and that's just something that is a different memory versus those times in college when we kicked it till 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, we have the stories about who got faded and who did something embarrassing on a on a trip or something like that. So it's a little different. It's a different in the memories now, but it's nonetheless seen or done and appreciated with love. So yeah, I love that. Um, we were talking about before we got on the importance or the definition of the 4th of July and whether or not we actually celebrated the 4th, or most of us that are Black Americans celebrate the 4th, or do we just celebrate the time off of work and the fireworks? Um, and I think that most of us are at the point now that Juneteenth was our 4th of July, minus the fireworks, because unless you buy them illegally, you can't really find them anywhere in June. But do you think that there's more of a more of a movement for Black Americans to say, yes, we are Americans, but let's be honest about what really defines our freedom and those holidays that we should really celebrate?
I definitely think there's more awareness in the holidays we should be celebrating and stuff because you know more because we're more educated, we're more progressive about it. So it's like, of course, all the black people are gonna celebrate Juneteenth because that's our independence and stuff. But as for the 4th of July, it's like it's just a day off from work for some people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had yours truly had to work, so I managed to get that time and a half. So I'm not really complaining. So it's like, but I did see
Hey.
everybody shooting up fireworks and stuff,
Oh,
and remember driving down the street just filled with smoke. I'm like, they gave all y'all fireworks and stuff. It's crazy.
yeah. So are they illegal in Florida or illegal?
No, they're legal. They're definitely legal.
Illegal.
You know what I'm saying? I think the South is basically legal because I'll see the advertising for the fireworks stores and stuff. So
Mhm.
it's definitely legal.
So yeah, so we have the fireworks booth. I mean, we have what's dictated as what can be legal, but nothing that what goes up in the sky. What does that makes it illegal?
Well, safe and sane are the ones that just stay on the ground. They don't go up in the air at all. And you can also only get fireworks June 28th after 7 o'clock
Yeah,
p.m. to 4th of July at 9 o'clock p.m.
and that's it.
Wow,
Yeah.
California
Um.
is strict.
Oh yeah. Oh well, and they say it's because of the fires, the fire hazard.
Oh, that makes
Um.
sense.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I'm sure that there were some idiots that damaged their own properties this past 4th, but I feel comfortable in saying there is not a fire burning across California right now that they can say is due to fireworks. So many people have the illegal ones. I can't even tell you. I don't feel like I need to pay to go to a 4th of July event ever again because you just drive down the freeways here or you get to one central location and you sit and look around and it's nothing but. I mean, the skies were lit up here, lit. Um, so I have to say, give grown people a little credit, you know. People aren't trying to damage their, where they live. But people are also just trying to celebrate and let their hair down and they work every day. They got other shit to deal with. And it's like if they can have one day where they can put on some coals, um, you know, barbecue up some meat, have a few drinks, and then let off some beautiful colors in the air for themselves and their family to enjoy. We should probably loosen the reins of just a little bit. Um, but yeah, so I know that was all across the country though. I remember watching something and it was like showing just the what is it called when they put a bunch of clips together? I can't think of it right now. There you go. I was gonna say menagerie, but that's not right. A montage of of all the fireworks shows going from across the country. And it actually looked really, really dope. Hubby and I were saying it would be really nice to see a satellite shot or of the country and all the fireworks going off, from space to see how that would look. And then plus the drone shows and shit that people do. That's pretty cool too. Um, but before we move any further, for my listeners and for anybody else, what this time is going to be is our Spark and Salutations. This Spark and Salutations is going to be sponsored by this episode strain that we've been medicating with. It's called Island Honey by the Biscotti Premium Flower brand. It's through Fiore. I think it's the distributor. But it's a good strain, good brand, value brand. Okay. We are getting ready to go on vacation. So everything's about value right now. The best for the price. Um, I was working one day last week and I hit up hubby and like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm sitting here. And that strain, that last weed that we got, he goes, that shit snuck up on me. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I'm sitting here very elevated right now. So I was like, well, let's get more of that. But this is a good strain, a good let's see what the terps are. Okay, this is one thing, cannabis companies, it's very smart. Part of your responsibility as a brand, as a strain, making sure that this is a flower that becomes, much more regulated, much more accepted, is to educate people. Part of the education would be putting the terps that are, a huge part of the flower. That helps people to learn more about it. That's going to normalize the plant a lot more. So as I medicate, I'll try to identify maybe what the terps are in here.
Like that shit, smoke that shit, pass that shit.
I'm on it. The hubby. So speaking a little bit about this, I know when I was on your pod, you mentioned that, you don't medicate, which is perfectly okay. But out
No,
there in
listen,
Florida,
actually, I don't medicate often, but I need to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So ever since
right.
our episode, I was like, I'm probably gonna start hitting up the dispensaries here, but it's like they're a little more in depth in California compared to here in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just gonna ask, how does the market look in Florida? I didn't even know that you guys had any at all.
Yeah, they definitely do. They got the CBD ones and stuff, and they
Okay.
do have some THC ones, but it's not like out there in California where it's a lot more in depth. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's slowly breaking ground here, but it's not like out there in California where you got a lot of experts there.
Yeah. Um, it helps to have, I love that you say experts or mavens. Um, I don't know if a lot of people ever catch on to the fact that Maven, part of my name is that makes an expert, one who likes to educate, one that has knowledge. So my name basically is the weed knowledge. I'm the educator. But um, I have to say that you guys have a lot of obstacles to overcome with was it DeSantis. Um,
This man got the nerve to be running for president.
look, I don't, I don't know. Okay, he says and he does whatever the hell he wants to, regardless of what the repercussions are, regardless on if that's going to, hurt the citizens of the state, whether or not most of the citizens of the state agree. He does what he wants, basically, and he says what he says. So I can imagine that things will probably move a lot quicker if he does get up and out, or the right amount of money has to be offered to line their pockets. I'm just gonna say what I really think of that man. He does what's better for him in the long run, or he does what's better for his pockets, it seems like.
Yeah, but
Um,
I really feel like getting into a fight with Disney is going to bite him in the long run, though.
Man,
That's gonna
I
bite him
mean,
in the long run.
I think that the Disney power is so deeply rooted that we don't even understand the measure of how much power they have, how much money is into everything. I mean, they bought out Fox. Like what is it? Another news, is it CNN or something else that Disney owned? Like Disney owns half of what our entertainment is. As far as movies and TV. I'm sure they're probably creeping slowly into podcasting or radio in some way. Um, I don't what is his problem with Disney? Like what is it the big issue?
I think it all stems from where they stand on the "don't say gay" stuff. That's where they
Uh,
stand. Their stance on the LGBT community. That's where it all stems from.
um, um, I mean, that's another group that I don't know if somebody wants to really go to bat with or bat,
You don't want to
Yeah.
piss them off. You know what I'm saying? Because they got
No.
money and they got power. I didn't realize how much money and power they
Yes.
had.
Yes. So much. And I say that with all due respect, but their movement has passed our civil rights movement by leap years. Like it it's amazing to me how still as citizens, not saying that they're not, but still as citizens of this country that built this country, that have been fighting for equality and just a better life, how that got leapfrog. How we became the bottom of the barrel once again, and this
Yeah,
message is so much larger than the message that, and the strides that we're trying to make. Um,
yeah.
I did want to ask. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, good. Like I said, I discussed this on the last episode, one of the last episodes where one of the men were like, because June is also not only Pride Month but Men's Health
Yes.
Month. But we mentioned saying this that Pride Month and overleaped Men's Health Month.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
like call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's all part of an agenda.
They couldn't eradicate us another way. They've tried. Oh damn it, they're becoming educated. Shit. Oh shit, they have access to the truth now. Oh damn it. Oh wait, they're becoming entrepreneurs. Oh, this weed thing. oh, we tried to limit them, but now that's even, helping to make them relevant. Oh, God. Wait, they're staying in their homes. They're having relevant, you know, wives of white picket fence house and 2.5 children. Like they're becoming more of the American dream. Damn it. So how else can we do this? And I do think the indoctrinization of um, that message overall. And I will say this, and I'm okay with saying this. My 14, who almost 15 years old, his sex ed for his freshman year, which just ended, included nothing but um, pronouns and identity and that aspect, which I'm not saying is not a portion of what should be involved in today's sex education. However, where was the sex education? There was not one time when I said, ask her and tell her that your mama said this. What happens when you or somebody else has sex and has, either catches a disease or makes a baby? Where does your pronouns and how you identify come into that? I'll wait.
Ooh, hello.
I mean, honestly, good that my boys have parents that speak to them so unapologetically. See, I'm getting this one, I'm getting excited. Um, honest with them that they can lack and not do their job. And I feel comfortable that I'll pick up the pieces. However, there's so many of his fellow classmates that do not have that. And we're going to cause an epidemic again. That's something like, I think, teen pregnancy, um, teen disease, sexual transmitted diseases, much like the late 80s, probably early 90s, if we don't focus where the sexual education should really be. We're going to cause that again. Um,
Mhm.
so I wholeheartedly agree with you. And that gentleman who said that, great point. And it also fits to another point that my husband was making. Father's Day doesn't even need to be a holiday. Nobody gives a shit about dads on Father's Day. Like, we were talking about the gifts that are offered, we're talking about the advertisement. We were talking about the fact that, hey, you can't get through May without hearing that it's Mother's Day. You know what I'm saying? Even if it is for the first couple of weeks of May. But you get to June, and June has to be celebrated. One, Men's Health Month. It used to be prostate cancer was a huge
Mhm.
conversation that was being had in June.
Yeah, and also
I mean, you just
another
brought this up to me, and it was
conversation that
not.
was being had in June. Didn't mean to cut you off. Another conversation we were having in June was celebrating Black Music Month, but you rarely see that because it's just dominated by Pride Month. But I
That's
don't
all it
think we
is.
should get. I don't think we should get rid of fathers. I think fathers still should deserve their flowers. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Oh,
Um,
yeah. No,
Probably just move it
definitely.
to another month though.
So that you guys can get your time. I mean, because like my husband said, he said, let's compare, the gifts that are offered. Um, Kay comes out with a new diamond. Every kiss begins with Kay. Go get your wife a $5,000 diamond. You know, and then it was so funny because I'm telling you, this is how your phones listen to you and shit. We were having this conversation, and right as we were having it, I get a notification for Amazon. The top 20 Father's Day gifts under $20. And he was like, "Open that right now. Like, you this is about to prove my point." And it was shit that no dad wants. No, first of all, why are we putting a limit of under $20 on that? That Kiss with K commercial did not put a limit on that. They were like, "Here's the sales, cabinet or whatever." But it was stuff that my husband was like, "I don't want that. Don't get that for me." Like, I use soap every day. Why does it have to be a special bar of soap for Father's Day?
One was tweezers. Like that's for anybody. It's not for guys. What are we doing?
Please, yeah. Um, like a at-home fishing rod, like a fishing rod game. Like it wasn't really fishing rod, like it wasn't really fishing, but it was like a little game that you would get second grader or maybe even a 2-year-old, not even a second grader. It didn't even have good stuff like good Dior cologne or something like that, or a nice suit, or just something that really shows your appreciation. It was really a bunch of junk. I mean, we went to the Dollar Tree a few days later, and my husband's like, "Let's see how much of that same shit that was on that list somebody could put together from the Dollar Tree." And literally, I could put together a basket of some of that stuff on there, and it was like $7.50. You know, for a multitude of things. But still, that's not fathers, and especially Black fathers, all fathers. You're in your children's life. Look, kids are assholes. Kids are not the best thing ever. I mean, they are, but okay, get on your nerves. They want to eat. They grow, and money has to go to them. It's a thing. And I mean that tongue in cheek, guys. But especially Black fathers, your job is so much harder than your peer. A white man who's a father, or anybody else, any other race that's not a person of color. Their job is so much harder. Not only do you have to prepare to keep yourself safe throughout the day, but you have to teach these young men how to do it as children, as adolescents, and then prepare them for the world. Um, you have stigmas. You have it much harder as far as building a career. Definitely Father's Day is something that should be a much more important holiday. It should be heralded. And we need to be honest that, yes, without mothers, children wouldn't be here. But we can't really make babies by ourselves. So let's give the credit where credit's deserved. Um, but I'm happy that you mentioned that June is Black History or Black Music Month, because if it wasn't for NPR, I will admit I would not have known myself that June, or wouldn't have realized that June was Black Music Month, or Black History Music Month is what they refer to it as. Um, so it started off with Charlie Wilson, who my 15-year-old loves. That's probably the only view that they got from my house, was my son watching Charlie Wilson. Um, Babyface, which he was great. I mean, 27 minutes, and I swear this man did 150 songs. It was just hit after hit after hit. Songs that he wrote, songs that he sang, songs that he produced for others. It was fire. Um, his background singers, backup singers, Shantae Moore, Tank, and I do apologize, I don't know the other gentleman's name. Um, but Shantae Moore singing like it was like she started singing yesterday. Um, and I don't know who, there was 4 of them, so I don't know who the other one was, but I do know that they ended the month on, I mean, they just blew it up. That mic drops, whatever you want to say for doing it. And for, I'm gonna say, my husband hate when I say this, but what the kids say, they ate that. What's that they say? They ate? What did they say?
I'm not a kid, so I don't know.
You teach them. What did the kiddos say at school? What do they say?
Stupid shit.
They do super shit. You guys get what I'm trying to say. They killed it, okay? So yes, they killed it. They surprised me. The artist himself surprised me, Mr. Juvenile. I think most Black people here, we go from the 99 and the 2000s, and they lose their mind, and that's what they think Juvenile is. Juvenile told all y'all to shut up, sit down, and Black people open up your ears and remember the slaps that he had back in the day.
Mhm.
So we turned it on, saw it first thing in the morning. It was 7:30 in the morning, blasting it. I'm sure our children were like, "What is wrong with our parents?" I mean, blasting it on our TV. We danced the full 30 minutes, and then we've listened to nothing but that CD, the 400-degree CD, or CD. That's not a physical CD, but we've listened to that album on repeat since we first saw that, which was what, Friday, Saturday? I think it was Saturday morning we saw it. Friday. So hubby will play a little clip what we can. But V, did you happen? I know that we mentioned it a bit. Did you happen to view it all in its entirety? What'd you think about
Yes,
it?
I watched it. I watched it with my sister. We were cracking up over it, and I'm like, I didn't forget he had slaps, but he had some slaps though. It's the only thing I think is
Right?
like NPR could let them go a little bit longer because he definitely had
Yes.
some slaps and stuff. And
Yes, he
you
could have
knew
gone a
what
little
time
further.
and with some songs you knew what time it was. When he brought out them violinists, I said, "Oh, you already know what time it is."
Right? And it was just so good. What I appreciated about it is that it just showed that it was real music. I think people really, and shout out to this being the 50th year of hip hop. we were talking about that as well. But I think that he really broke barriers where it was like, look, you can break my songs down. And yes, it may sound like it was nothing but an album or, me scratching or whatever. You could think that the music was all electronically made. You could think it was just the bass and this and that, or the 805 or not 805, the 808 and all that. But it broke it down where it was like, no, this is real music. Here's real, musicians. There's a real drummer.
Yes.
Here's a real, the dude that had the like shaker. I was like,
Yeah.
I couldn't
And
believe it.
also, we
His job
gotta
was
give
just
some shout out to Manny Fresh because he had a lot of work to do on them songs. I didn't realize it's
yes,
like, wow, he was putting a lot of work in on them songs and
yes,
stuff.
yes.
And
I don't
also
think
shout
anybody
out to the
respected him.
sax player on here because he's from Tampa as well, and I also went to school with him at
Oh,
FAM. So shout out to
oh,
Mr. BK.
nice.
What I'm saying? So
He did his
outside
damn
to you,
thing.
big dog.
He did. Well, shout out to him. If you ever, run past him or get to him through social media, let him know that there's a fan out here in California that thought that he killed that. Because we did point him out. We were like, wait a minute, listen to him. Um, I have to say there he is right there. My
Mhm.
favorite is probably I think it was 400 degrees. I think that was the best. Like like as soon as it started, I was like, wait a minute. But listen to that. And for me, the way that I hear music is I break down each instrument. So I was really able to hear, the keyboard. I was really able to hear, the horns. I was able to hear the bass. They did a damn good job.
Yes,
And
they
then, like you
did.
said, Manny Fresh, I mean, he, he killed it. He
Hmm.
went to his little Casio keyboard. It looked like he had, you know, and his little voice changer, which probably was just a prompt there on the keyboard. But is it the 400 degrees right here, babe? The beginning of it. I'm gonna play
I
just
think that's
what we
definitely
played.
the beginning of it right there.
Yeah,
But also shout out to Tiny the NPR for these concerts though. But the ones we had during the pandemic were some of the best as well. But these definitely hit differently. And there's like a lot of artists I would love to see get those shines, and you know what I'm saying. So shout out to them.
yeah, I do. I like that. I will say that, especially during the pandemic, like the verses and that definitely brought a different focus. One on music that I can't stand that they call like our music old school already. I'm like, no, old school is like
I'm thinking
Bootsy
old
Collins
school
and
like
them. Like,
80s
that's
and
old school.
90s. I'm like, come on, why is
Yeah.
early 2000s
Yeah.
old school? I'm like, god damn.
Right? They're like, this is one from the back in the day, and it'll be from 2008. And I'm like, wow. Like that's respectful. That's disrespectful, guys. Um, but I do think that Versus did a really good job on focusing and bringing, the attention on, you know, if you guys say that you love music, and the music nowadays is it's
Yeah,
very
it
loosely
is.
based music. But if you guys wanna say that you're music fans, like, you really need to know the true history and the foundation of it, and I think that's what Versus did. Um, and I think that's what NPR does, and I wish that they would do something that focuses more on Black music. I think if they did a monthly, highlight on it, they did it very well. They did it with a lot of class. Um, I think that they focused on the right artist. I mean, like I said, and some of it was very just mind-blowing. I know for me, Juvenile was mind-blowing. I was just like, "Wait a minute." And he
And
knew his
also
words, and it was a good performance. He seemed grateful to be there.
yes. But shout out to Black Twitter because Black Twitter told him what it was. I think somebody tweeted, and then he was like, "What is the tiny desk and stuff?" And then he did his research, and then they reached out to him and stuff. So
Oh,
somebody on Black Twitter, like somebody tweeted, shouted out Juvenile, mentioned Juvenile. We need to have a
yes.
tiny desk with Juvenile, and bam, they made it happen. So shout out to Black people on Twitter.
Hey, and shout out to somebody at NPR for paying attention to Black Twitter,
Yes.
'cause we all get tweets that get added at us, and we don't care, or we don't read it or whatever. So, shout out to them. I remember my dad, it was like punishment for me to ride in the car with my dad and listen to NPR. Um, straight punishment. You can hear it. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I heard a little bit of it.
Nope. Oh, we got a little bit. Okay. He was trying to get this way so we can all enjoy the fabulousness of. I, I'm telling you, I haven't rewatched A Tiny Desk as many times as I have this one. Maybe Usher because when the let me get that.
Yeah. No, the
Yes.
one I rewatched a lot was maybe because I'm a Floridian. The one I rewatched a lot was Rick Ross.
I didn't even know Rick Ross did what. Are you serious?
Yes,
Oh,
Rick Ross has a tiny
I'm gonna have to
desk.
watch that one. I like Rick Ross.
Yes, you
Um,
gotta watch that one.
okay, I like Rick Ross. Yeah, I like Rick Ross. I think people, try to, oh, let's get rid of him. So they try to, sully his name. Um, a couple of his song lyrics were questioned. Um, and I'm just like over people. Like it's just I like Rick Ross. I like that he
Yeah,
was
I
like,
like him too. It's
this is my
like,
land.
and everybody has some questionable song lyrics. Every artist does.
That everybody, you know? And everybody has a questionable or, like a past that you don't expect someone to have. Like, I don't care that he was a correctional officer. I don't care. Everybody has to have a career starting off. At least he wasn't like mooching off other people, hurting other people to get, to take care of himself before he made it big. So I like Rick Ross though. But I also believe in putting positive things out there, for people, because one day he may go, what? This girl said, who? Let's let's go ahead and sponsor her podcast since she liked me and she supports me so much. No, so it's fire like that. I'm gonna have to check that one out. So that's another one that everybody should check it out. If you have not checked out NPR at all, please do. As far as their tiny desk, there are some good performances there. And you may actually be introduced to maybe an artist that you never knew about, and you really start to dig their music because you've heard it stripped down. You've heard the kind of story behind it. I think the artists, what they all really show when they come on there is just how much they love their art and how much they love their creativity and love sharing it with an audience. So if you're somebody who's really into music and you kind of get a certain joy out of seeing somebody, you know, just precisely um, share their creativity, check those out for sure. Check those out. So on to another big event that happened. I think I'm gonna jump from something that was so fantastic to something that could use some work. That's probably
Mhm.
that's the BET Hip Hop Awards. I know it's a couple of weeks far gone, but um, I think it's still a conversation that can be had. Shout out to Tyler Perry. I mean, I think we all saw this coming. Tyler Perry, of course, was going to own BET. I mean, he owned it because his movies and TV shows are shown there on repeat. Whether you want to see it or not. There's Martin, there's a Medea, there's maybe like an old College Hill episode that they throw in there, and then right back to the Tyler Perry. So, I think that hopefully yes, hopefully he'll come in and step into more of the creative role and make sure that all of the, shows from here on out are at peak level. I think that's how we'll be able to start getting those A-list black celebrities in attendance. Somebody that is really of royalty is not going to come to the equivalent of the Source Awards. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
without the argue, without the fighting and violence. But that is pretty much it. I can see okay. To everybody else or to a large portion of the community, Beyonce is royalty. I don't see Beyonce coming to a BET Hip Hop Awards, a BET Awards until it's elevated to the level of Beyonce. It's probably the best example. You're not going to get a Denzel, to come through and accept an award to something that he's like, I don't know who the hell Silky Red is. I don't know. Like, you know,
That ain't even
let's be,
her name.
let's be honest. I can't see Denzel bopping to Lotto, and no shade. Do your thing. They are making their ways in the industry. It's a hard industry. Making your way, great. Music's not horrible, the greatest, but it's there. And I'm just saying that it's not that you can't have a combination of both, but there needs to be like a 60-40, you know, Patti LaBelle, if you want to give a lifetime award to Stephanie Mills, Patti LaBelle, people like that in the industry, then you're going to need to make sure that they know what's going on. Maybe Patty, because Patty seemed like she in the loop a little bit. So maybe Patty will come. And Anita Baker, we just saw what happened with her and Babyface beefing on Twitter, which I just don't ever want to see again. I don't want to see two of our Black, like, greatest, artists, especially somebody that's like such an auntie like Anita Baker, beefing with people on Twitter like that. That was a huge fail for me. I was like, if y'all don't leave Auntie Anita alone, like, do you know how many of y'all walk down aisles as flower boys or ring bearers and flower girls to an Anita Baker song at a wedding? Do you know how many of y'all, it's like, how many times you woke up on a Saturday and your mom was cleaning the house and you got up and had to clean up to an Anita Baker song? Like, so you guys beefing with her over Twitter was just unexplicable to me. But did you happen to watch the hip hop awards? I
I
watched all the
watched a little
clips.
bit of it and
Yeah.
stuff, and I was like, you know what? The BET Awards have just fallen off so hard because back in the day, like early 2000s and stuff, BET Awards was lit.
Yes. Yeah.
It was the place to be. But I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect happened and stuff, like where nobody won't show up. So I'm hoping Tyler Perry can restore some order
Yeah.
to the BET Awards.
Yeah, for sure. I will say that the best things about it were, well, one, it seemed very disorganized. Okay, and I will say this. Let's give them their credence, or their a little bit of allowance. Everybody's on strike, so there's no writers. So in order for them to have it, it kind of had to be off the cuff. Let's just performance, maybe an award, performance, performance, performance. There was no host. I don't know if people realize that or if they thought that was on purpose, but there couldn't be because there was no writers to write for that host.
Mhm.
So I will give them that. They did pull off an award show during a time of a strike, and that strike's been going on for a few months now. So I will give them that. However, there's lots of interns. There's lots of, hey, let's put a poll out there and have the community and the viewers maybe be like the producers. There's just ways, to go about it. Where I knew that it really was kind of like mixed up was when, I mean, even though they've fallen off a bit, but Ray Sherman, they were like at the pre-show. And I was like, oh, damn, y'all falling off. Like, you guys would have definitely been in the crowd, in the front row just a few years ago. Um, that pre-show also, it seemed like they just went on the street and they were like, what are you doing? You good for the next 2 hours? Come on in to a little free little concert. It was, yeah, like just the vibe of how people were dressed and just that whole vibe. I was like, you guys are setting a lower standard. I will give them a lot of kudos because they did have one of my favorite, and I won't even say up and coming podcasts because I think they've made it pretty far in a short amount of time. But Fig Munity, are you familiar with Fig Munity community, like the whole community world?
I think I've
Um,
probably heard them a couple of times.
yeah, so they were with No Jumper. Um, and then Adam 22 showed his real side. That colonizer side came out real strong, and all the talent that he had, which really made that brand, all of them left and started their own. Um, well, they had all kind of started their own little podcast separately anyway, but that lets you know how the universe is like, listen, be aware, I got other shit in store for you. So good thing that they had already kind of started their side podcast. And then when the shit hit the fan, they were able to take their brand and their creation and then just really make their own deal. So they are doing very well. I mean, it's been 6 months or less than 6 months. They've already hit 100,000 subscribers. They got their plaques. So shout out to them. I love their content. They're getting ready to do a live tour and they're going to be coming to the closest city to me, which is San Francisco. And I want to try to go and support. But they were actually some of the hosts that were in that pre-show. That's a big deal. To be able to go from where you were on somebody else's platform to building your own platform and then having a large entity like BET, we have to once again give credit where credit's due. They are big within the culture. To see them on that platform is really good. So I do want to give them a lot of love and support for that. But that's where I saw the first, dissension where something going down. And then just some of those performances, I, we need to put more time into choreography. If you can't dance, don't, you know. If you're a rapper, just do that. Nobody's asking you to dance. No, nobody. You're not Missy. Not every female rapper is a Missy. Well, let's say that. Um, and I think that they should have given some of the performances like, the TIs and, when they did the South or when they did the West Coast or, when they did the important, additions to what has made 50 years of hip hop, what it is, they should have given them more time. Um, the best part was, I mean, like I said, haven't been able to find the clip, but E40, I did know that E40, he posted on his social media prior that he was going to be performing. And I know that he performed with like the West Coast side, but every clip that I've gone and see, it cuts it right off after Warren G or whoever comes right after Warren G. But Busta Rhymes accepting his award, his speech, seeing his kids right there, seeing that he's been eating good and also just thinking like, damn, he's come a long way. I remember him before he was just Busta Rhymes, seeing him in movies, going the kind of acting route, being in the movie with Tyra Banks, if she can act.
Higher Learning.
Higher Learning, yes. A lot of people don't know that. I think that's another thing. We need to go back and watch movies, y'all.
He was the driver in Shaft.
Mm.
He's the chauffeur.
Oh, okay. So
one with Samuel Jackson.
He had his acting, it was good that he was able to kind of cross over, but seeing that he is so appreciative, but he had words of guidance and words of guidance from a caring standpoint, not from words of guidance of like, we did things better. Now y'all need to do this to fix it. But
I think he also kind of spoke on why the BET Awards is the way as it is now.
Yeah.
Because of all the beef in hip hop and no one can be around each other. It's going to be a shooting or some type of fight. As long as there's that going on, it's going to be hard to have a good show with representation from all parts of hip hop.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of what he was speaking to about. They need to come together and put stuff aside, listen to the big homies and stuff like that.
Yeah. And even him getting his message across that way, just telling his message about, how Big Daddy Kane had him over to his house and was just like, let me teach you from all aspects. Like, let me teach you how to be financially secure. And he mentioned 2 or 3 other artists, but how he said that he went out to their very nice paid for homes, in a nice area. And just his message was like the growth was in them and the knowledge that they passed down. People like him need to be able to start to make that connection and pass that message down. And then, like you said, there needs to be more community, not so much of the division and the divisiveness that's present. It was very moving. I also was like, they better not cut him off because he went up there at first and was like, I got 2 minutes. I was like, y'all better let him talk for 25 if you want to. Like, I better not hear any wrap it up music. But they did good. And then he came out and performed. It was just, I think that was probably the best moment of the show to me. What do you think? And it was long as hell. Like, I get that it was a special one, but 3.5, 4 hours BT. People don't watch things that are longer than 30 minutes at a time. Like, so
that's a fact. I mean, if it's good, people are gonna sit around for it and enjoy it. But like I said, I really feel like it could have been better because back in the day, we used to watch that stuff. I remember back in college, like when Twitter first popped in, like we would all be sitting there watching Twitter and watching the BET Awards at the same time because it kept everybody's attention. But this year, I don't think it kept anybody's attention.
No. And it's funny because I went to Twitter first to see what was what had happened prior to me tuning into like the clips. And I was like, so nothing. It was nothing. It was more people's opinion and shit talking and the creative Black Twitter. Let me tell you, Black people, look, if so many more of us do not become marketing and advertising reps or executives, we are some creative, damn quick people. Like I don't know how y'all are so quick with the shit that y'all come up with, but it's quick. It's quick. So I definitely I did get that feel like before I actually logged on or I was like, I don't think I'm missing much, but it is that's indicative of all award shows though. If you really think about it, I used to sit and watch award season was my shit. AMAs, Grammys, Source Awards, freaking the NAACP awards, the BET award. Like it was a thing because everyone was a different experience. You got to see different people perform. They put their all into it. I mean, it was a full performance. It was better than what they would do at some of their concerts, a lot of viral moments before viral were done at award shows. Now, as an artist, and I get it, why waste your time when you can connect with your audience and you can get your own message out there without going and sitting under these rules and regulations of this organization? I mean, most recently, Chris Brown. I don't know if you guys got to see what his performance was going to be at the AMAs and his dedication and his to Michael Jackson. It was amazing. It was, I mean, Chris Brown still fire. Okay, I don't care what drugs he does. I don't care what that can still dance, still flip his ass off, still emulate Michael Jackson, where that man is in his grave, proud and like somebody that I think Michael Jackson would eventually said, let's do something together because he's so talented.
Oh,
And
it was coming before they killed Mike.
oh, you know that for sure. Which that could explain a little bit of why there's this long-term hate for Chris Brown. Other than the incident many years ago, that man is 30-something years old. He was 20. But
yeah, I would say watch what Jaguar Wright had to say about Chris Brown, and you understand why there's so much hate towards him. You know what I'm saying?
So I like that you brought that up because I was just talking about her 2 nights ago. We were at a game night. She speaks some like a lot of people that you see that talk. It's like, oh, you're a little bitter. Like I could see that being made up, or like, okay, what do you have to get out of this? I don't get that feeling from her at all. I think that she's really like, this is my purpose to tell and to like pull back those curtains on all the fake shit that goes on within music and all the dangerous shit. And the people that you're loving are monsters just as much as those people that you hate, allegedly. I like her. I think that she is telling a lot of secrets. We also got to make sure that we protect her and look out for her, because the more that you do that, the larger target you're putting on yourself. What do you think about I don't want to call her a blogger or like a vlogger. I mean, I don't even call her like a media personality. But what do you think of individuals like Jaguar or like herself?
She's a disgruntled worker.
Disgruntled worker.
She's someone you don't want to piss off. She knows all the shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I think. Yeah,
someone that you don't want to piss off, and they need to protect her. Whoever with her, they really need to go hard and protect her. Because they coming for her.
And she talks about a lot of things that I say it just makes sense, and like the timeline of things, like the newest thing about Jay-Z, Beyonce, Aaliyah, Carrie Hilson, where all that went. And if you look at the timeline, it's like, that all does make a lot of sense. She really did kind of blow up more after Aaliyah passed away. It's just my husband's shaking his head. There's so like, okay, so babe, I'm bringing you in here. How is she any different than like D Haven? Like D Haven came out with some shit that I was like, oh, and D Haven's definitely disgruntled
because D Haven's bringing up facts about who Jay-Z associates with. she's bringing up things that just could be a coincidence and saying that this fact that something happened. The fact that Aaliyah's plane crashed on the other side of the world and that Jay-Z set it up, which also means that he would have to pay for 4 or 5 other people to lose their lives as well, or just give because they supposedly drugged her and carried on, so they knew what was going on. Like that's just too big of something for someone to set up. I don't know.
The
It's just
Illuminati.
the Haven was different. Jay-Z says in his own songs that the FBI was tracking him and they just couldn't catch him on nothing. So what the Haven was saying, it matched up with what Jay-Z had already said. He just gave a different viewpoint. What she is saying, again, at least about the Aaliyah part, that sounds like coincidence. It's
It's what's crazy to me is that we know so many people have done things that they normally wouldn't have done for fame and for fortune. And especially that happens within
the fact that Jay-Z blew up after Big L died could be a coincidence. It doesn't mean that Jay-Z set Big L to get headshot. Like, you don't even know if you're gonna blow up if Big L gets headshot.
True.
Like there's no way to guarantee.
I only give you
Besides,
that.
it was only out of them too.
But will you also admit that there's been a lot of behavior that is resemblance of what a lot of this country is built upon, like just the backstabbing, the killing for me to move forward, to get ahead, to get better. And then especially once I'm seen as somebody who, let's just say, for example, Jay-Z, who definitely was in the upper echelon, when he first started, and then he got with Beyonce, and then they start moving up, and then they start moving up, and they start moving up. Now he buys Basquiat's, and he hangs out, he's friends with the Obamas, and things like that. You don't think that somewhere in there that somebody else was
there a group of people
sacrificed for that success?
Also, I will throw out another name for you that I saw that it was kind of like Jay-Z, Diddy. Like, because I've realized something. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but maybe he had something to do with Biggie now, because I heard there was rumors that Biggie was going to split from Diddy, and Diddy and Biggie weren't really close. Diddy just saw his talent and wanted to ride on his coattails.
Yes. And then he got richer after.
Yeah, here we go with conspiracy theories. Yes, he did get richer because they were the two on the label, so it was their label. So yeah, he still wins off a Big Bad Boy. But the same rumor about Biggie's getting ready to leave, that's why they popped him, is the same thing that they said about Pac, that he was getting ready to leave Death Row, and that's why Suge Knight popped him. It's like, yeah, it's easy to throw that in there after the fact, but that doesn't mean that that's true. Now, is there a circle of people that decide mostly everything because they have the most power and everything? Absolutely. Do I think they out there headshotting people? Nah. They'd be better off doing it like how they did with Pac and get the girl to just lie on them and put them in jail for a long time instead of headshot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand that there's a group of people that control everything, or not everything, but they control a lot, whether it's the and I think it's a different group of people. So you got the comedian part, or entertainment, which is where Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams and where they ran into a problem with.
We're talking about Oprah, all that, yeah.
And then you got the different side that's going to be the music. That's going to be why they blackballed Jaguar. Yes, everybody could get blackballed. I mean, if everybody around you is friends and you're the one that's not their friend, well, it's easy to blackball you. You know what I'm saying? But
I think it comes down to loyalty. When you aren't showing them the loyalty that they expect, then that's when it becomes a problem. And then for her, that same loyalty and love that they have for her, she started showing, this is probably anybody, you start showing a little dissension, and then they break away from you. And then something happens to you because you're not the famous person, and then it's crickets. So from that same, that same side that you were so staunch and supporting, they really showed you their true side. And then like you said, maybe somebody comes disgruntled, but I think there's a little bit of truth in everybody's opinion. Or at least when it comes to, if you're being bold like that, like you're risking a lot. So I think there's probably a little bit of truth in there. I will admit as well, I could be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I think that conspiracies also come in some truth. They derive from some.
We all are in some way, you know what I'm saying? Because we sit there, we listen to it, and you know what I'm saying, we're like, wow. And then we do our research, and then we look at all these coincidences.
Yeah.
That means that we're fans of some of the biggest sociopaths ever. Like worse than like the Ted Kaczynskis and all that. These people are just out here killing people, being demons, but then keeping a straight face, and everybody's falling for it and loving it. Again, that's just that's a little too crazy for me. I can't believe that I'm out here liking a whole bunch of Ted Kaczynskis and Unabombers and shit like that. I
No,
don't want to believe
see,
that about
and
myself.
not everybody that
what does
listens,
that make me?
They know that's the analytical side of hubby. But there's definitely some things that when we talk about it and we'll break it down, we'll have these same conversations. And this is what's good when you find somebody that knows your strengths, your weaknesses, and loves you regardless. That you're able to sit down and have a conversation and then see each other's point. So on a situation like this, we've definitely talked about it before. Our biggest thing is doing our due diligence, like not just coming up with the idea because of a TikTok or because somebody told us or whatever. Like V just said, do your research, and the more and more that you look into it, the more and more you're able to start develop, your opinion about it. I have a tendency to believe that it's not all hard work that has provided some of these successful people their success. I'll just say that. I don't think that it's all hard work. Some of it may be chance and luck. Some of it, I think, is maybe doing something that you normally wouldn't do to get ahead. And because you're ahead, you don't care about who you stepped on to get there. Like they're so in your past. They're so behind you. And then what are they going to say? You're here and they're here. Who's going to believe who? You know what I'm saying? So I do think that there is a portion of that is, derived in that idea or, those actions that can take place. But I know I've thought of like 4 other things that I could bring up, but we're going to be, like I said, I'm going to be conscious of time. I do want to share a little bit more about the podcast. I did have a question. I know this is like putting you right on the spot, but what is your favorite episode of all time that you've done? And who is your favorite guest? So it can be the same answer, or that could be two different questions.
The season finale that's about to drop.
Okay.
That's about to drop. That's probably my favorite episode. But in all seriousness, I would say episode 101, the Ladies of the Natural Unbothered podcast. Now, I learned the hard way that you got to do your research on whoever you bring on your show. Man, they wild out. It was an overall great episode. And it overshadowed the fact that Liquor Talk had hit 100 episodes. And on that 100th episode, I had made peace with my former co-host. I had brought her, my first co-host. I had brought her on for the 100th episode. But that episode overshadowed that because I ended up dropping them on the same day. You know what I'm saying? So that episode overshadowed that one. So that one had to be one of my favorites.
Yeah. And so what was the name of the podcast you said?
These are ladies from the Naturally Unbothered podcast. They're going to be on the season finale of Liquor Talk. That's going to be coming real soon.
Oh, okay. Good. So let's go back a little bit. How long ago did you start your podcast? And tell us a little bit, because that's something interesting. I didn't know that there was a past guest or past host. Ooh, maybe this IP is a little stronger than I thought it was.
Past co-host.
Yeah, past host. So tell us a little bit about the history of the podcast, and and then I would have another question after that, but go right ahead.
Okay, Liquor Talk started way back in like 2017. At first, it was just Snapchat videos, but then it became a podcast in 2018. I met my first co-host in Tampa. We were at some kind of network. I think she had responded to one of my ads, and we hit it off. And we did 2 seasons together before it broke down. in between the season. Then I brought on someone else, and
Mm-hmm.
that broke down as well. But after a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm better off doing this thing by
By
myself and
yourself.
recruiting other podcasters to come on the show, because you realize that you're a bad person when you just do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
you realize people in different states and different parts of the world, they will show up for you. You can count
Yes.
on them, unlike people in your own city. So
I love that you said that, because I went through the same thing. I went through a change within the first and second season. I had 3 guests or 3 co-hosts, and it dwindled down to 2 other ones. Then it dwindled down to 1. And then when that dwindled, I was like, well, I can't do this by myself. And my husband's like, why can't you? You are the show. It's named after you. You started it. Like, have a little bit more, confidence in yourself. And I was like, it's not that I don't, but I just don't know if the audience that I've built to this point wants to hear just me. So we had very similar, starting off. And it was, do you feel like, not that your reluctance, but the fact that you went from one and hired another one and then was finally like, all right, I'm gonna do it myself. Do you think there was a little fear behind you wanting to be the only host?
no, it wasn't a little fear. It was me learning technology and learning what technology works and what technology I can connect with other people in other
Mm-hmm.
states, who got me like, you know what, I need to make something, because it's like at first I was like, I can't do this by myself, and then I was like, I might be but then I started having guests on. That made me realize I could do it by myself, just recruit people to
Right?
come on the show.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's always and maybe not a fear, but just like how am I going to get guests? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And what that really is we're putting limited beliefs on ourselves, because it's just like, there's no possible way that this is going to work. Like, it worked when I wanted to start, when I started. It's worked for 2 years now, but of course it's not going to continue. But you really just have to like push all that down and actually use that as motivation for you to get things right. And I love what you said about using other platforms to just meet other people. You guys, he is number at least 40, maybe 50th out of the guest co-hosts that I've had that I have never laid eyes on physically. I've only followed them through social media. I saw that our platforms and our content would match up well. And even if it didn't, my biggest thing is creating and cultivating with other content creators. That's what's going to equal success. That's what's going to help this mark, this indelible mark that we're leaving in the history of our culture, of our society. Like, every time that we do a podcast, this is going to be here way after, we're here. I'll be like 140, but it'll just be here. And so we're leaving a mark, and like the what we're doing can be inspiration to future, societies and to future generations to keep this going. Podcasting is a blessing. And it's definitely a blessing for people of color and for those of us who always had things to say and didn't know that we had a platform, and now that we do. So I love that you didn't give up, that you saw the benefit of you needing to put a little more work to make yourself knowledgeable, and then to go ahead and continue, what your passion and your purpose really is. Besides that, you can now be a resource to others that are at that beginning level. So yeah, so once you decided, okay, I'm gonna do this on my own, how long do you say that it came to fruition, that you felt completely comfortable? You knew the technical aspects. You were comfortable with how to acquire guests. And so, so far, so on and so forth. All the other things that go into actually producing and making a successful piece of content.
It was definitely still during season 2 when I just felt most comfortable. Like, okay, I can. I think it was like after episode 73 or 74. I was like, okay, I can do this
Mhm.
with or without a co-host. You know what I'm saying? And also, I realized by that point I had made an Instagram for the podcast, and also
Mhm.
a Facebook page, and also got in some groups. And then all I had to do was just ask for some guests, and the floodgates opened, and
Came
the
right
rest
in.
has been history.
Yes. And that's all you have to do is ask, guys. I mean, 9 out of 10 of the guest co-hosts that I get, and let's say I get them from Instagram, it's strictly just reaching out with a message. Strictly that. Okay. And what I've learned is that everybody's time is not on my time. And I say this all the time. I'm an Aries. So if I message you and you have not messaged back within a day, I'm like, well, then I guess you don't. I will delete the message. But then somebody may get back to me in 2 weeks and, they're on vacation or they have kids that's, going through whatever it may be, baseball, basketball, whatever. So that's also a podcasting 101. Gotta have a tough skin. You got to be prepared for um, getting that dream guest that you never thought you would be able to get. And you reach out to them one night because you had a couple, shots of Casamigos and you got that, that liquid courage. And so you write this, passionate message. And next thing you know, they're going, I would love to be. And you're like, oh, take those times and have as much gratitude and see the value in that, and see the same value and have as much gratitude for those times that maybe don't end up like that you hear a no, or those people don't reply, or they tell you I would love to, and then they never follow up. Like there's lessons in every step of you having a podcast and continuing it successfully. If someone came to you and they said, I want to start a podcast, but I'm afraid that there's nobody out there that'll be interested in what I have to say, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that they tripping and they should just get over your fears and just go for it. You
And
never
just do
know
it.
because you never know who's listening to you and stuff. Because it's nothing like going to a podcast conference and then people walking up to you, "Hey, I recognize you for so. I listen to your
Yes.
podcast and stuff,"
Yes.
and then hearing
Isn't that
people that
amazing?
you've listened to their shows. So it's like you just gotta go for it. And also that would tell me if you really want to do it or not. Because sometimes if you really want something, you're gonna say, excuse my expression, but you're gonna say fuck the fear. You're gonna go for it, you know?
And you have to. You have to. And if you're the only person that's listening, if your mom's the only person that's listening, if your friends from college are the only person that's listening, that's somebody listening. If you feel at the end of that recording like you just made the most fire content, or like you're super proud of yourself for what you did, that's really what matters. And it will get out there. I think my first fans were in France, in a part of France that I've never heard of. Um, and I think a resource that bit of information I would give is that there's so many resources for you to find out how your podcast is doing and take advantage of those. Because like I found out that my very first listeners that were in a good large percentage were from this random city in France. And if it wasn't for hubby being a great producer and utilizing these platforms, or me finding these platforms, I would have never known that. Like I would have never thought that somebody in France was listening to me. Um, we had somebody, I mean, it was 1% of somebody listening to us in North Korea. I didn't even think they were allowed to do anything in North Korea. Like I was like, is that Kim Jong-un himself? Like who is, I don't know. But it gives you a certain sense of validation, and validation is okay. People say you don't want validation from anywhere outside, but in the world of being a podcaster and content creator, you do. And so those little wins will help to move you forward. Be a guest on other podcasts. Don't think it's just all about your podcast, because that way you'll get in front of their audience. They'll get in front of yours. And other opportunities will come to fruition from just allowing yourself to be that one on that one podcast. And then you also step out of the role of being the host. And it's very nice to step into the role of being a guest.
Yes.
And, and following, there may be some best practices that you learn from, some things that you don't want to do that you learn from. But then also it's really nice sometimes to just be creative in the role of a guest, you know? Um, I I think that your pod is great. I love the conversation that you create, and especially the ones when you create when it's a panel of men. Because so another example, this weekend, my hubby, his frat bro, we were at a 4th of July thing together. They came and they sat on like opposite ends of the chairs that we were sitting on. And me and his wife got up and we expected them to move closer together. No, that's not what men do. You guys sat right where you were and you guys had your little conversations. We were like, why don't they talk more? And then we were like, well, if they were more like us, it'd because what I said? That's what I said. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you're so special. Frat bro. There's a difference between frat bro and fraternity brother or
You can say
fraternity
frat
bro.
brother, but he's my brother. He's not my a frat bro is
Yes, correct. I'm
Elite
sorry.
or
My bad.
what's all good.
Those of you that went to college as well, and you know, especially
Mhm.
Black or multicultural orgs, you know, it's family. Okay, so I did misspeak by putting fraternity in front of that. His brother, my bad. It's
Mhm.
not like you know, the white orgs where they're like, I used to be. Um, but yes. So I just thought that was funny because they were like, we do talk. And as women, of course, we want you guys to communicate with each other the same that we do, but you guys do have your own way to communicate. Um, but I do like podcasts for that purpose. You do see a lot of men that kind of get together, whether it's over a few drinks, some cigars, some blunts, or whatever it is, but that allows them to have a communication about whatever it is that they want and that camaraderie that I think is super important within our community. And it also helps to rebuild the image of Black men within our community when you have platforms like yours where it allows other educational, present, regular, just American men to sit down and have a conversation. Um, I think that's super powerful. What um, what is your favorite podcast to listen to?
My favorite podcast to listen to is usually the ones that I'm about to be on. You know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
usually
Okay.
some of the
I
ones
love
I
that.
like.
You're supporting the indies?
Yes. But the one that really helped me get started was listening to Joe Budden's podcast and also listening
Okay.
to the Breakfast Club, their podcast as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
listening to those kind of got me going and give me some ideas and
Yes.
stuff. But mainly, I listen to some of the mainstream ones, but also I do like to support the ones where I know I'm about to have them on, or I'm about
Mhm.
to be on their shows. So you know what I'm saying. So
Oh, that's awesome. And that support, I mean, just honestly, guys, you hear all the time, the like, you know, the subscribe, the share, it's free. Do that. I know it
mhm.
really helps, you know, our platforms to grow when we're able to do that. Um, if you love it, somebody else is probably going to as well. I do love that you said Breakfast Club. Charlemagne is still on my vision board for somebody that I will work with that one day.
Hey, I want to work with him too. You
Charlemagne,
know what I'm saying.
Andrew Schultz, that Brilliant Idiots, Flagrant, The Read was actually probably no, The Read, very first podcast that I fell in love with that I was a staunch listener to. And they really were the ones that started the thought in my head, like I could do this. I could do this. But at this time, podcasting was so new. It was presented like you getting into a radio station. Like you had to kind of be on a platform. You had to be with a podcast studio. So I thought that it was so limited. But then it just people started coming out with their own. Um,
You're
I
on a
love
radio
Breakfast Club.
station now, though,
We are we are
and
with the
working on
radio
a new
station now.
one. Hopefully next month.
Yes, and a new one starting. Um, I do love the Breakfast Club. So I want to ask you, do you like them better now, just Envy and Charlemagne? Or did you like them with Angela Yee?
I think I'm getting used to them with them a little bit better when they're just them now. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
them bringing in a new guest every week, the host for the week, and they, I do like that as well. Just
Yeah.
it gives it a fresh vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I like that. I think that if they have somebody who is like kind of the topic of conversation within the past couple of weeks and then they have them on for a week, it allows that person to get their narrative out, maybe dispel some things. I think probably they could have stayed away from the girl who fought, oh my gosh, Jocelyn Hernandez. They could have stayed away from her. She didn't need
Yeah,
to.
they definitely could
She
have.
she can barely speak. Like, come on, she can barely read. So that was hard. I will say I have not been a fan of Angela Yee for a very long time. I thought it was about time for her to move on and get her own platform. So I like it. I think that they play well off of each other. Um, I'm kind of iffy about this BET, like great, you're on BET. Like I don't if I'm watching the pod, which is what I normally do, I don't want to switch. I don't want to hear the switch over to BET. I don't care. about all that.
Yeah, they
But
did that so that way they can get more eyes on it. You know what I'm saying? So that
yeah,
way people are just home chilling. They can watch it as well
yeah.
instead
I
of
don't think it
always
needed
having
that.
problems.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, but as a fan and as a loyal listener, I don't think that was needed. I think what the platform they had, what how they were doing it before. I mean, they really started podcast being on YouTube. Be honest, you know, having the audio and the visual that definitely was started by them.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'll say for
but
me, like going visual with it is because I had coworkers. They're like, "Oh, we don't know these podcasts. So we know YouTube." I'm like, "Okay, well, there's the YouTube channel." So
yeah, yeah. I think if you started a podcast 18, 19, that was really a time where you had to learn to come into the industry, but you had to learn how to pivot because that's really when it was like, oh, now it's audio and visual. Like you didn't really have to make the choice. You pretty much had to do both. And I think that's important and it's very indicative of who we are today. People want to feel like they know you, you know,
mhm.
and audio's great, but being able to know the face to the voice, it does a lot more for your brand and for your show. So I love when I see other, people of color who are taking advantage of this platform. I don't know if you've heard, but in California, they're talking about reparations. They're about to give most Black people in the state 1.2 million allegedly. Um, what I always say is we've been given reparations. Podcasting is a form of reparations because it's a platform where we can control our narrative, and that there's a lot of us who can become media um, professionals by our own standards. Um, and the more that we have control of our narrative and what we put out in the media, the more that we can kind of change our community and our society slowly but surely. When we're showing that we're not monolith, that we're showing that we're not all alike, um, that helps to kind of become the catalyst of change too. And I think that's what's great about podcasting. Shout out to the platforms like Black Podcasting Awards, the Black Podcasting Network. There's so many different platforms out there that are wanting to highlight and celebrate Black podcasters and content creators. That there has to be nothing but forward movement. So I want to say that my time, collaborating with you, being a listener of your podcast, a supporter, has done nothing but, add to who I am as a content creator. And like I said, when I was on your podcast, I called hubby. I was like, another just fire ass piece of content that was made. I was like, the high that you feel when you're done podcasting is similar to, getting high. We'll just say, but much
Mhm.
healthier for you.
It is.
So yeah, I want to thank you so much. People, please go subscribe, comment, like, share, get yourself all caught up on all of the episodes that the Liquor Talk podcast has created. I want to go back and just really make sure that I'm up to date on everything. I'm trying to take everything in order, but now you want me to you got me one on jumping forward to episode 100 and 101 since you talked about it so highly. But I want you guys, please reach out on social media. I'll make sure that all his content, social media are in the show liners, or you can contact me through social media and I'll connect you all. But really simple. We all know how to use Auntie Google. Liquor Talk Podcast. It'll come right up for you. All you got to do then
Mhm.
is press that subscribe button. So, what I like to do for the end of every episode is leave my guest co host, leave them with the microphone. You have your Kanye moment, do your mic drop, leave everybody with a word of wisdom, a bar, some fire like Dylon, 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 or just, a piece, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours.
All right. First of all, I want to thank my guests. Thank y'all for having me on. I definitely appreciate it. The bar I'm going to leave you with is to keep going no matter what it is, no matter what curveballs are thrown your way, to keep going with your vision, your content creation, or whatever it is you're going on with. Just keep going because you never know the results. You never know. Some good is going to happen when you always keep going. So that's my tip for advice. Until next time, like she said, go ahead and subscribe to Liquor Talk. We
Yes.
out this thing, y'all. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. That is a mic drop. I want everybody to do that too. Remember that. Don't talk about it, be about it. And always live within your passion and your purpose. I love you guys. Until next time, be safe, be covered in love, move right every single day, and stay elevated. Till next time, Mary J. Maven.